Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. I want to do a review on wheat today. I want to include the grain complex. There's a lot of short-term volatility, confusion about whether or not some of the computer's signals reset should be chased or not. I see on the internet there's calls of people looking to go flat the corn market. Those are dangerous concepts again because the time is what makes you money, and we have to understand where the primary trend lies. And as the comments that were sent to my email suggest, this is a game that we need to employ patience with. And I completely agree with that. That's a concept that I try and communicate to all, but patience only comes with understanding. So let's open up the matrix here and take a quick look. The grain market itself is located here. I've restricted this just to look at so we can isolate the grain market, the major grains. The evolution of the trade follows the primary trend. The primary trend is up 4 to 6 months across the board. That's the return that we've achieved over that time frame for the various markets. The cycles are what we're most worried about. This is the price and the time cycles here and here. Everything's below zero except for soybeans, which has run up so much, which tells us that the trends are relatively early, and even this is not a very big number. But it could push a correction. As we move over to the weekly, we can see the extension is far greater than that, and there lies the concern. This is the topic that I've talked about for weeks, really, within the grain complex, is that the daily trend and the weekly trends are showing these red bolded numbers. And time is the most concerning, 5, 6 standard deviations on soybeans. A correction is due, but a correction doesn't have to mean price is going to fall down the elevator shaft. It can grind, especially in trends that are young like this. It can grind sideways. We can see a short, steep decline quickly, but then it recovers relatively fast. These are all possibilities. I call them cause building phase, or they're described as that in the cycle of accumulation and distribution, which is another concept you can learn about within the matrix. Click the Q&A banner and you can find a definition of that, and I would read up more about that. It includes markup, jumping the creek, breaking the ice, the concepts of this, a full description of cause building. But these numbers here suggest the price trends within the grain complex, except for wheat, which just reset, is due for a reset on the daily, and it could infect the weekly. These are all possibilities. But this doesn't mean that you should be heading off and going flat if these markets do reset, because the primary trend is still up. What is the important deciding factor, again, always, is energy. And energy, and we'll take a quick look here, energy is relatively the same across the complex. It's minus 35 to minus 44, 50s, all in the 50s. If we take a look at wheat's energy build, here it is, specifically for wheat, we're down in this area. If you want to have a reset that's viable, this energy build has to move above zero and be up in here. So that's going to take time. And it's really the same setup for the entire grain complex. And if I go back down, and you can look at this in the matrix, the matrix follows the composite grain DI, and the composite grain DI is also down here. I think if this market, all the grain markets, which move in unison with one another, they follow slightly different cycles and changes in amplitude. But this energy build needs to release itself from down here above, at least above the zero. The higher we go, the bigger the energy build, probably the greater the extent of cause building, and the greater the consolidation, which means then the farther the next impulse will go once it organizes itself. So to assume that this market is anywhere near a safe entry point, no, it's not a safe entry point short term. This has to be dealt with, this may be dealt with, and this energy build has to be dealt with. But the primary trends are still up. So if you built a nibble position, a core position, and at this point you're waiting for an escalation, these are not escalation points. They're actually, if you've used a lot of leverage, it took a big chunk off for your core portfolio early up. These numbers represent some profit type of readings where you say, I'm going to take a little bit off, and I'll put some back in. I mean, I wouldn't take a lot off. You just take enough off to help you sleep at night. But those choices you have to make. I mean, I can't make those decisions for every individual. The individual must decide where their risk profile and risk tolerance lies. But the point here is that wheat is reset, and even when soybeans and corn reset, that'll take these numbers down, which is good for wheat. But the energy profile is not favorable. This is going to have to change. I think this is what subscribers need to follow on a weekly basis. We're going to get another number on Friday, but it's going to take weeks of watching or weeks for this energy bill to move. Right now, it's kind of the same information, so I'm going to leave this discussion open for the public to watch. But the reality is, if you're going flat against the primary trend or selling everything out because of these daily readings, we don't know if the daily is going to have a grinding action, a shallow bottoming, or a shallow reset, and we don't know how long it's going to take for this energy build to materialize. I've seen them go relatively short within a couple months, but I've also seen them last as long as 6 months. It really depends on what's going on in the fundamental side, but I also know that the invisible hand understands the fundamentals better than the U.S. government does, so it's going to react faster than any reports that the U.S. government releases. This stuff moves beforehand, and then the fundamentals catch up later. So that's the whole point. I mean, that's why we watch the computer. That's why we subscribe. We subscribe because the computer sees things that humans can't see. So that's the extent of the review. I would say that the wheat's flip here is just like all the other ones. This is not something that's considered viable. It's not I mean, if you want to chase this one, it's up to you. But I mean, there's a better one coming most likely. If you have any other questions about the grain complex, wheat, soy, or beans or corn, contact me directly through the blog. If not, subscribe down to have some comments below, or subscribe to the YouTube channel here. I'm always looking forward to hearing comments from people. If you have any other concerns, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching the video and have a good trading day.